What do you think explains the peculiar tenacity with which this question has been pursued by individuals, even to the point of insanity, and also by eminent figures you mentioned earlier, Mark Twain and Sigmund Freud, who didn't just have a passing interest in it, it seems to have become an obsession.
There is more than a bit of obsession in this, and I know that from the hate mail I've received since the book has just come out, and from reading the web conversations, online conversations of Marlovians, Oxfordians, and others who don't believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. I think it really has to do with a sense of conspiracy. We live in an age of conspiracy, and a suspicion of authority. And a suspicion, I suppose, of people like me. There are those who've actually argued that Shakespeare scholars are in on the take and are being paid off to suppress this information. And that may be true, but somebody's left my name off the list of those who should receive a monthly check. I think the conviction that one's belief, founded on faulty assumptions, has to be true. If I believe that Shakespeare's works were truly autobiographical, I'd suspect that somebody else wrote them, because somebody else's life can be made to fit those plays better than Shakespeare's. The problem, of course, with this is you have to give up believing that Shakespeare had the greatest imagination, or in fact any imagination at all, and that all he was doing was recycling bits and pieces of things he had experienced in his plays. And I'm not willing to go there.
But, I mean, as you alluded to earlier, you think that, let's say, mainstream Shakespearean scholars have also, as it were, played into the hands of people who seek for alternative authorship solutions by themselves, indulging in, is it fair to say, indulging in autobiographical explanations?
You know, Malone set a lot of precedents, and one of the precedents he set was this. I read Shakespeare, I exist deeply in these works, and I know what their author thought, and I know when he is writing his own experience into those works. I spent a quarter century reading and teaching Shakespeare, and that's basically all I do unless I'm writing about him. And I don't know where anyone has the confidence to say this is where he is putting his own life into his work. Now, I'm sure there are places where his life does appear in those works, but we don't know when or how or why. We don't know enough about his daily life or about the life of any early modern writer to make those kind of claims. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is chasten fellow Shakespeareans who want to indulge in that desire to say Hamlet was written on the death of his father or the death of his son. It may have been, it may not have been, and we'll never know. And yet, persisting in teaching and writing in those ways about Shakespeare's life enables those who believe that Oxford or Marlowe or Queen Elizabeth wrote the plays to make arguments based on the same shaky foundations.
But, I mean, I was very interested in what you say in the book about the fact during your own teaching lifetime, there has been a genuine revolution in the understanding of how the plays were written. And so when you began teaching, the notion of them, some of them being collaborative efforts was alien.
I did not know when I began teaching that 3 of the works on my syllabus that I regularly taught, Titus Andronicus, Timon of Athens, and Pericles, were collaborative works. And 3 other works as well at that time, Henry VIII, Two Noble Kinsmen, I didn't teach those works. And we now know Cardenio, which was a lost play that Shakespeare collaborated on with Fletcher, existed as well. Macbeth happened to be tidied up by Middleton after his death, so the play we have has Middletonian touches in it. The question of collaboration is slowly winning acceptance in Shakespeare circles. It makes it very hard for those who read the works autobiographically. If you know Shakespeare wrote 60% of Timon of Athens and Middleton wrote 40%, either Shakespeare sought out a collaborator who had the same psychopathology and family troubles as he did, or you have to give up that enterprise of writing and reading the life out of the works.
Although it doesn't seem to entirely deter the Oxfordians who, even given inconvenient death dates, see some sort of posthumous collaborations going on.
Yeah, this is the what I like to think of as the yard sale version of Oxford dying in 1604 and Fletcher and Middleton and George Wilkin and others coming upon the estate sale and each grabbing manuscripts. It doesn't work. The recent publication in the Arden series of A Double Falsehood has already made the Oxfordians nervous about some kind of conspiracy to release this, because that collaborative work that's based on an earlier and lost play by Shakespeare and Fletcher that I mentioned, Cardenio, can only have been written after Cervantes, who is the source of this, Don Quixote, had published Don Quixote in 1605, a year after Oxford died. So you can just see how punishing the argument for Shakespeare the collaborator is, both for those who don't believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare and for those who persist in thinking that you can read the life out of the works.
I mean, I'm laughing as you're describing the convolutions of the yard sale scenario, but the level of invective, the level of passion invested is quite profound. And you write very interestingly about how, for example, Wikipedia and the web have really changed the method of the debate. I
follow a lot of quiet ways in which this debate is changing. And I would urge anyone interested in it to go look at the Wikipedia site for the Shakespeare authorship controversy. Not just the article, but the discussion underlying that site. And there you will see the trench warfare back and forth from defenders of Shakespeare and those who want to attack his claims to have authored the plays. And I have to say, to their credit, those who attack Shakespeare are winning that war. Why? Because in Wiki World, the last one to enter and delete what his opponents or her opponents said wins. And the democratization of knowledge on the web is a wonderful thing, and in this case, a very dangerous thing.
I mean, maybe I can ask you in conclusion then, James, because at one point in the book you make a sort of implicit comparison with those who would like to see intelligent design taught alongside Darwinism. I mean, do you think, although some of this can be dismissed and laughed off as the fantasies of crackpots, there is actually something quite corrosive of our culture here?
That's exactly the word. I'm trying to say something not just about what happened in 1900 or something that happened in 1600, but something that's happening today. And this book, and it's only slowly becoming clear to me, speaks to the way we read now. And in the end, I discovered while writing this book that all I was doing was writing a long footnote to the way we read now. And it speaks to our own comfort level with controversy, our experience of a media that believes every argument should have both sides fully represented, whether it's intelligent design or the authorship controversy. And I'm arguing that that's probably a mistake, and that we have to look at the ways in which we come to understand things today and make up our minds and look at evidence. And a lot of it has to do with evidence. And one of the saddest things for me in investigating this is Supreme Court Justice Stevens, who's one of the great liberal fighters in the world, along with Justice Scalia, who is a right-wing and I think dangerous legislator. Both believe that the Earl of Oxford wrote the plays. Why? Because they lack an historical understanding of evidence. And if individuals with this much power and this much, this greater reputation in this world win awards like Stevens just did for Oxfordian of the Year, it should give us all pause.
James Shapiro. Uncontested Will is out now in hardback. That's all from this podcast from Blackwell Online, but you can find out more about this book and several million others by going to blackwell.co.uk. You'll also find an extensive podcast archive there. Just click on the podcast tab on the home page. I hope you'll join me again soon for another in-depth author interview, and until then, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.